Good morning, everyone. How is your Saturday morning going? Mine is going good. Thank you very much for asking. It is Saturday, February 24th, and it's about 20 minutes after 10 in the morning. Got my last coffee of the day. Ran out of cream, so I'm not putting any cream in it. That was just a treat for a bit. I wanted to make a cream sauce and also wanted to have heavy cream in my coffee for a few days. It helps with fasting. If you're ever interested in fasting, a few of the things that can help you get through not eating food is to put heavy cream in your coffee or tea. And butter. There's a thing called bulletproof coffee, and I've always wanted to make a video on that, where you put like a tablespoon of heavy cream in your coffee. Heavy cream is 35% to 45%. Basically, it's whipping cream. You make your coffee, put it in a blender, throw a tablespoon of butter in it, a tablespoon of heavy cream in it, blend it up. It tastes amazing. Gives you a bunch of calories to help you get to that next meal if you're doing intermittent fasting or longer fasting. It breaks your fast, but it doesn't raise your insulin level at all. It gives your body some fat to eat or to use as fuel, and it's better than bread and better than juice, and it doesn't stop you from burning fat. It helps you burn fat. Anyway, so back to this. Weighed myself this morning. Might as well get that out of the way quickly. Weighed myself and I was 200.7 this morning, and my blood pressure was 126/87. So I think it's Wilbur is the one who said, make sure you do your blood pressure in the morning before you do a coffee. And so I guess that's the most accurate. I sat in my comfy chair for 5 minutes, put the pressure cuff on and did it, and that's what I got. And then I decided to make this video. I forgot to tell you, when I did the chicken thighs, baked them all up. The first time I ever baked them myself, I put them on the tray, put them in the oven for maybe like 10 minutes, and then flipped them over and cooked them for another 10 minutes. And they were done, but I made them, you know how there's like a nice skin side, and then you flip them over and there's not skin side. So I cooked it skin side up first and then flipped them over. And then when I went to eat them, there was just like those big globby chunks of fatty skin. And I don't really enjoy that at all, that crispy skin. So this time I cooked it the same way, skin side up, flipped them over, I think 15 minutes, and then flipped them over. And when I checked them, they were almost done at 15 minutes at 400 degrees. And I might next time do it like at 380 and do 10 minutes this side, 10 minutes this side, and then shut the stove off, turn it to broil, and then maybe move the rack up a bit and just cook the top layer with the broiling. And so this time I did the 15 minutes, I think. Flipped them over and checked them just to see what the temperature was, and they were almost done, like really close. I'm like, crap, I can't put them in for much longer. So I think I put them in for 5 minutes, took them out, or shut the stove off, put the broiler on, broiled the bottom side first because I really wanted to make sure that side was toastier than the first time I ever did it. And so then when I flipped them back over and then I toasted that top skin, they were perfect. And I just salt and peppered them. I didn't do anything else to them. And I ended up eating all 6. So I took 3, sat down, ate them while watching TV. And they were like huge chicken wings to me, and but way tastier. And then I ended up going up and grabbing one more, eating that, and I was just sitting there watching TV. I'm like, I'm still hungry. I still want more of these. And so I ended up eating all 6 thighs, and that's pretty much all I had for dinner that night. And it was perfect. It was totally satiated me. I had my little mixture of nuts while I watched more TV or movies, whatever. And then last night, I went through the freezer, our deep freezer, and found a porterhouse steak and 4 think they're called honey garlic sausages. And so I ended up cooking 4 of those sausages and ate all 4 of those for dinner last night. And that's pretty much all I did last night. So yeah. And then this morning I thought I'd get up and make a video on the most expensive bill I've ever had to pay. And the question to you guys is, what is the most expensive repair bill on a vehicle that you ever had to endure? And not collision, because collision obviously can be crazy expensive, but like either brake repair, anything mechanical throughout the vehicle other than an accident. I would love to hear back from you, because I'm going to read through this invoice and tell you pretty much exactly what happened here. So it was the DPF, which has something to do with the diesel particular filter. I think that's what it's called. So yeah, diesel particular filter, DPF separated, possible damage to transmission harness, wiring, feels crispy. Labor time is for DPF. They quoted me at $57.94 plus taxes. Parts. The parts of that was $4,600 plus taxes. Labor was $1,194 plus taxes, and then that's kind of like the estimate at the beginning. And when you add that all up, it looks like it's almost $10,000, or it'd be over $10,000. But it's funny how they kind of showed that to you, and it kind of scares the crap out of you. So Mercedes-Benz charges $199 per hour to work on your vehicle. And I took my friend's advice, and he's like, just don't mess around. If in the future you find an amazing diesel mechanic that charges less for service and guarantees their work, then great. But he goes, don't mess around with it. Just take it to Mercedes. They're going to do it perfect. They're going to do it right. They're going to guarantee their work. And you just know that if anything's wrong, they're going to fix it. So thanks, Ed. So the first part was the labor, and that was $1,194. The exhaust system itself came to $4,606.23. Then they charged me for a flan gasket, and that was $27.47. Then a screw, they charged me $31.32 for a screw WRND.hexel.head, whatever that means. And then there was a strap that was $159.23. Then there was a temperature sensor, and the temperature sensor cost $237.96. Then there was a pressure line for $56.93. Then they replaced clear stored faults, road tested, all okay. So I did get a call yesterday, probably in the morning before I went to go pick it up at 2 o'clock. So she called me maybe at 10:30, 11 o'clock. And they said, remember I told you guys, I said the DPA separated from the engines, broken, damaged, whatever, needed to be replaced. I would love to have had a mechanic show me exactly what's going on, because to me it sounds like the DPA broke, separated from maybe the body of the vehicle, and was now ejecting the superheated exhaust onto wiring, and it needed to be replaced. I'm under, if I was a mechanic, if I was a full-fledged mechanic and I had that in my shop, it'd be interested to know if one of the mechanics had the same problem with theirs, would they repair it, or would they just replace it for $4,600? And then, of course, they'd absorb their own labor because they're not going to charge themselves. So I did look up what a DPF is and how much some supplier would charge, and they're over $4,000. So, but was the DPA itself broken, like not functioning, or could it have been put back into place, because they said it's separated from the engine? So could have been put back into place and welded back into place. Like, I don't know. So again, I've been told for the last, I don't know, 10 or more years that mechanics don't repair anything anymore. They just replace parts. So I'm not sure if that's true. I'm just saying what people have told me, because it always seems that when something is broken, they don't fix it anymore. They just replace it. Everything's replaceable. It's just switching out parts, and then you're on, and of course charging you full price for a brand new part, when maybe you don't need a brand new part. You just needed it to be fixed by a mechanic to put back into place. Anyway, that's my beef. And again, that's what I've been told. Whether I believe that or not, I don't know. So, so she phoned me and she said the wiring, two of the wiring, needed to be replaced. And that, she said it was $200 and something. So I'm not sure what, it doesn't say that on here, that it's a something wire. So it might have, because she did say something about $200 to repair something. So maybe it was the temperature sensor, but she said two of the wires that they said were crispy because of the exhaust going onto them needed to be replaced. And I'm like, just fix it, because I don't want to not fix it. And then Carol and I are traveling down to Florida in our van, and it breaks down in Tennessee or something, and stuff stops working. I just really don't want that in the back of my mind, that any minute now the electrical system will stop working, because I was too cheap to fix it. You know what I mean? Sometimes when they tell me, hey, this is broken, just fix it, I really don't want to have to worry about it. So back to the front page. So this was like the final part of the bill. So labor was $11.94. The parts amount was $4,819.14. They didn't do gas, oil, lube. They didn't do the sublet amount. Miscellaneous charge was $10. Yeah, they charged me $10. Pay Enviro charge for repair order. Charge you $10 for that. And then the total charges was $6,023.14. Less insurance. It wasn't done through insurance. Sales tax, $783.01. I remember back in the day when I had a 1986 Mustang and I had to get the brakes done, and they told me it was going to be $750 to get the brakes done. And back then, $750 now is still a lot of money, but $750 then was even more money, because I was probably making $4 an hour. So it was like, and that was at Midas, and they wanted to replace, I'm not sure, I can't remember if it was just the front brakes or the back brakes, and they wanted to replace everything. I remember back in the day when I was younger, they used to actually take your rotors off, put them on a lathe, and make them all smooth again and put them back on. That's, again, back in the day when mechanics would fix things, as opposed to, oh, your brakes are gone, we need to replace the rotors, we need to replace this, we need to replace this. No, fix it. My own pet peeve, sorry. So the final cost of this bill was $6,806.15. So thank you very much to everybody out there who watches my videos, because the fact that you guys watch my videos, leave comments, like my videos, share my videos, because of all of those people, mainly, I can afford to fix this. It hurts. It's going to take me a couple months to kind of regroup, and maybe more months, maybe more than 2 months. I don't know. So again, it's going to take me a while to recoup from this extreme cost, but it had to be done. Like, some people are like, oh, just get rid of the Sprinter. No, we put a lot of work and time into that Sprinter, and we want to put a lot more time and work into that Sprinter. So I did think back in the day that we needed to get a newer Sprinter, but because it's an older Sprinter, I don't mind, cutting holes in it to do stuff. If I went out and bought a brand new $90,000, $100,000 Sprinter that's gutted, and then stick a drill to it, I don't feel good doing that. I don't mind doing it to an old vehicle. Anyway, guys, so that was the most expensive repair bill I've ever had to endure. Leave a comment in the comment section below to the most expensive repair bill mechanical repair bill that you've ever had to endure. All right, guys, have a great weekend, and we'll see you again in the next video. Once again, thank you very much to all my channel members for all your monthly support, and my supporters over on Patreon. You guys are the extra bonus help to get me through situations like this. So love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.